eventful and interesting day. We have wrapped up all the breakout sessions, and it's time now to invite the person who will moderate for us and round up and wrap up all the activities of today, the chairman of the event, Mrs. Udego. Is she here? Mrs. Udego, are you around? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am not the chairperson of the event, but I am here to do the wrap-up. I'm online. So good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Do permit that I communicate via established protocols that were established earlier on in the day. My name is Edith Udagu, the Executive Secretary of the Nigeria Internet Registration Association. We will all agree, as stated earlier, that this has been very eventful, very exciting, and we've thoroughly enjoyed ourselves. So the wrap-up for this virtual NIGF, which held 23rd and 24th September, we had very good participation with varying audience. We were honored today by the presence of the Honorable Minister of Federal Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, FNCS, FBCS, FIIM. Equally, we had the EVC of NCC, Professor Umar Garba Dampata, other government officials, and people from the private sector. And we had wonderful speakers and moderators, and of course, the wonderful audience for this 2 days event. So online today, we had over 168 people and 30 people physically in the at the physical hub center there in Abuja, while in Lagos, we had about 10 people there. So for this wrap-up session, we will start with the pre-events which held yesterday. The pre-events were the Nigeria Youth IGF and the Women IGF. And then we'll move over to the plenary session and then the 4 breakout sessions. So for the Nigeria Youth IGF, I would like to call on Ufa, the coordinator of the Nigeria Youth IGF, to please give us a report of the proceedings that took place yesterday. Ufa, thank you, over to you. Oh, let me just say that we have about 40 minutes for this. So Ufa, will please request that you spend maximum of about 7 minutes giving us a report. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for giving us this time to talk. My name is Ufa. I am the coordinator of the Nigerian Youth IGF, and I'm talking to you today from Lagos, Nigeria. Before I go into giving our the outcomes of our conversations in our youth event yesterday, I would just like to give a special appreciation to the NIGF for their support to youth in having this event. It's very hard to have the conversation about young people and internet governance without, it's very hard to have a conversation about the digital economy without discussing the plan for young people. So if I may read about our event, our event was in 2 phases. We had an introductory webinar on the 16th of September, which was a 1-hour event and featured 2 topics, 2 introductory topics to prepare the youth to participate. And then for our main event, we had 4 subtopics. Which were stemmed from our community input. The overall theme for our event was shaping a resilient internet for societal sustainability. In our we had 1 high-level panel discussion which featured 3 global experts and 4 moderators for each of the sessions, and a total of 8 speakers. The main event featured a total of 136 participants online, and for the pre-event we had 54 participants. So if I may read our recommendations from the youth recommendations for the first session, session 1, titled Building Capacity of the Nigerian Youth in Web Literacy and ICT Skills in the era of COVID-19. Recommendations: we need to build communities online and offline where people can connect to learn. There's need to provide alternate means of learning using offline content strategy. For this, there needs to exist strong collaboration between public and private sectors. There is a need to build the capacity of public school teachers, which would help them to relate with the students better on ICT. For session 2, role of Nigerian youth in the global internet economy. Our youth recommendations are: the youth should be educated on the proper use of the internet and social media. Government should empower the youth so as to engage them in more meaningful and constructive activities. We should have adequate and effective online child protection laws. The Nigerian youth should be more involved in the internet economy discussion, and we need to understand the technology trend. For session 3, impact of connectivity on e-businesses and e-commerce in Nigeria, our youth recommendations are: stakeholders should adopt an innovative approach in doing business in the Nigerian environment. There is need for youth to leverage on the existing platform for business promotion. A call to the technical community to create the escrow platform to ease business delivery in Nigeria in addressing trust. For session 4, cybersecurity and cybercrime, enabling a secure and sustainable internet for all. Recommendations from youth. Nigerian youth need more role models for expected behaviors in cyberspace. They should be made aware of the do's and do nots of the internet. Internet users should make a conscious effort to establish a strong defense to accessing personal devices. Internet users should engage themselves in capacity building workshops to develop their basic cybersecurity awareness. Internet stakeholders should create strong regulations and laws that support the use of biometric identity in Nigeria. And for our next steps, as in this event, we shall publish the full report and our outcomes, which will be made publicly available to all members of this community and our youth community. We engage all of our stakeholders to please support us and help us and to engage us in ways to promote the inclusion of young people in internet governance in Nigeria. And thank you for listening to us. Thank you for giving us this space, and special thanks once again to the NIGF for trusting us and giving us a space for us to share our opinions and our youth recommendations. And thank you very much.
Thank you. We're most grateful to the youth. We're grateful to you. And it is very, very clear to us that the youth are actually ready to take over, which is quite encouraging because as you can see, some of us have been quite long in this space, and we need to hand over to the younger ones. So we're very pleased that you are ready to take over the battle from us. Thank you and well done. Now for the other pre-event, which pre-main event, which took place yesterday, which is actually the women in IGF. We have Mrs. Miriam Haruna from the Center for Information Technology and Development, CITA, to give us a report from the pre-event. And as we all know, since it is the women IGF, it was quite interesting and very engaging yesterday. So Mrs. Haruna, are you here? Hello, Miriam, are you available? Okay, if Miriam is not available, then we will go on and take the reports from the plenary session. Barrister Dex, are you available to help us with the reports? I do know Barrister Dex was logged on earlier on. Okay. If he's not available for the report, we could go ahead and take the reports from the sessions. Oh, you're here. Welcome, Barrister Edith. Welcome. Thank you. Over to you now.
Thank you very much, Edith. Our session was the panelist group for the plenary, which actually discussed the main theme of the NIGF or virtual NIGF 2020. We had three members of our panel available: the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. We had Funke Opeke of Main One, and then we also had Tolu from the President's Office. And the essence of, or the theme of the discussion was to try and see how we can address issues with inclusive development as far as digital economy is concerned. The Permanent Secretary, in his remarks, made mention of the efforts that the government has made, especially the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, in order to provide a guide or a framework long before the issues of COVID made it very, very important, on how to actually coordinate digital economy development in Nigeria. Of course, he talked about the digital economy policy and the focus of the policy, soft infrastructure, and all the necessary things that have been put in place. He also mentioned that one of the key focus was stakeholder coordination, contribution to the improvement of digital economy in Nigeria. Funke Opeke talked about the role of private sector in ensuring inclusiveness in digital economic development. She mentioned the infrastructure that has been put in place, specifically by Nigerian companies. She also talked about all the other issues that has to do with confidence in the Nigerian economy, especially, she also recognized the efforts of government, but noted that a lot still has to be done, especially in the minor areas of ensuring that all this structure put in place by government is adequately used and is used to implement the decisions that have been made by government, especially through the policy. We also had Tolu, who also discussed on the innovativeness of small businesses in Nigeria using information technology, and also encouraged the government to continue to provide these facilities and make them available for anyone that needs to use them, to also foster their local businesses. The main focus of his intervention had to do with small and medium enterprises. We took some questions online, which actually focused on the right-of-way, fiber optic, and the capacity of Nigerian companies, especially in the area of data sovereignty. And in response to some of the questions, Funke Opeke also noted that we have capacity locally to implement data sovereignty, and that government should encourage local companies to deal with issues surrounding our local data and ensuring that they are not hosted outside of the country. In summary, the panel generally came to the conclusion that yes, there are initiatives and there are also activities that has actually encouraged inclusiveness in digital economic development. But however, there are certain other steps that need to be taken. There are other issues that need to be addressed in terms of identity. The digital divide has not yet been conquered, and so more efforts need to be put in place to ensure that we attain the level which we have projected in our various policies and strategies. So in a nutshell, that's a report of the plenary session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barrister Emmanuel Edet. As usual, job well done. Thank you so much. If we have Mrs. Haruna available, she will give us the report on the outcome from the Women IGF that held yesterday. But if she is not available, we will go ahead and have the report from Dr. Hamza Salami, the sessions 1, which was on data sovereignty and monetization, and the session 2, which is cybersecurity and trust. But I must say this, that it's good to know that we're still reiterating the important fact that we need to keep our data local and protected. And we're still doing something about the digital divide when it comes to the issues of this country. So please, may I invite Dr. Hamza Salami to please give us a report from the outbreak sessions 1 and 2. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us in NIGF 2020, and we hope you've been having a wonderful experience so far. So I would talk briefly on the discussions that were held in breakout sessions 1 and 2. So breakout session 1 was on data sovereignty and monetization. So our moderator was Madam Eitayo Iyotim, and we had the following panelists: Michael Olubemi, Chuks Okoriekwe, Bernard Ewa, and Titi Akinsomi. The session was on data sovereignty and monetization. So discussions focused on how to use data to obtain quantifiable economic benefits and how citizens' data are being used without their consents. So panelists also discussed the need for data subjects, that is citizens, to become aware of their rights and to be able to scrutinize the policy of usage attached to technological devices, apps, and software. Access to internet, panelists also agreed that access to internet should be seen as a fundamental right of citizens, as it is critical to the effective living of human beings nowadays. Also, the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation developed by NIDA was acknowledged as a step in the right direction. However, there is a need to establish a commission that will be responsible for implementing and enforcing the Nigerian Data Protection Regulation. In addition, discussants talked about the need for capacity building in the area of data, as it will ensure that the benefits of available data are properly harnessed. Also, there is need to create what was discussed mainly in session 1. So I would move to session 2, which was on cybersecurity and trust. The moderator was Reverend Sunday Folayong, and we had Engineer Sally Sukaka, Dr. Nnena Jufo, Folake Olagunju, and Mr. Adote Rock. So several key issues were mentioned, including the strategies for building and establishing trust on the internet, the basis and mechanisms for building such trust, and then different issues related to cyber crimes, international mistrust, and the profiling of Nigerians. The key recommendations that were made in this session include the following: that there is a strong need to develop a national strategy for the operation and financing of a data ecosystem. There is need to identify the demand for actionable, policy-relevant insights and good and public good applications. It's also important to identify data gaps and democratize access to information in order to support government policies, academic research, financial investments, citizens' action, and sustainable partnership. Emphasis must also be placed on progressive capacity development on security and cyber crimes. It's important for Nigeria to come up with an institutional framework rather than depending on the Western world. Finally, there is need to address the sophisticated hardware that is required to monitor cyber crimes. Thank you very much, and the rapporteur that will discuss what happened in the other two sessions will come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hamza Salami. Thank you very much for the report. We appreciate. Can I now call on Mrs. Elizabeth Issa? She is the lead rapporteur for the breakout sessions 3 and 4. The breakout session was on digital empowerment, while breakout session 4 was on emerging issues and technology. May we have Madam Issa online, please? Thank you. We equally have Mrs. Miriam on standby, but we will first of all discuss with get a report from Madam Issa.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll be taking sessions 3 and 4 today. My name is Elizabeth Issa, as already mentioned. I might need to start from session 4 because I'm waiting for the report for session 3. And so for session 4, it was moderated by Mrs. Mary Uduma, and we had 4 panelists: Mr. Ime Asangasi, we had Ms. Nwagbu Ugochena, we had Mr. Shegun Aino, and Mr. Wale Adedokun. So Mr. Ime spoke on responsible and meaningful health tech delivery in the era of new technologies, and some of the recommendations he made that need to be tackled by government and stakeholders. Firstly is to improve infrastructure, because there are lots of infrastructure deficits in the nation. And so once that is fixed, then both government and private stakeholders can be sure of better healthcare technologies. His second recommendation was the need for standards and architecture that works. So there has to be approved standards for the country, and that way they're sure that they reach the standards expected by all stakeholders in the industry. The third recommendation was that priority needs to be put for rural areas as regards healthcare, because they don't have access to internet like those in the urban areas. He also highlighted the need for more funding from government, which is a key issue in order to overcome some of these challenges. And lastly, he mentioned the need to increase healthcare coverage, either telemedicine or physically. Next, I go to the second speaker, Ms. Uchenna Ugu. She spoke on EduTech and the future workforce. She spoke about the fact that they had introduced coding and robotics as part of their STEM program. She also highlighted the fact that children are not being exposed to artificial intelligence and robotics, which is definitely necessary for the future workforce. So she highlighted the fact that it's a challenge, especially in public schools, and so something must be done deliberately, both by government and by individuals. She stated the need for a change in curriculum as well to enable our younger workforce compete in the global arena. So the recommendations made so far is that there's a need to reform our educational system. There's also the need to make necessary changes in the curriculum. There's the need to identify which area we expect to go for the future of our schools. There's also, she also recommended that individuals should start from the grassroots instead of waiting for government. Even if government is going to intervene, it's necessary for individuals to start their own little part, and everything works from the bottom up while government intervenes top down. The third speaker, Mr. Segun Aina, spoke on emerging technologies, and his topic is more like a question, and says, are emerging technologies driving fintech adoption in Nigeria? So to this, he highlighted some of the major challenges being faced, especially in the areas of policy and innovation. So some of the recommendations made that stakeholders need to be intentional. And in stakeholders here, he was referring to both government and all stakeholders in the industry concerning this, need to be intentional about policies, because there are some policies that exist, but they need to be updated. Then, he also mentioned the fact that there's a need to develop new policies which will change the challenges being faced as regards fintech adoption in Nigeria. And there's also the need for the policies to be made available in the public domain. And I believe that's in the area of awareness of these policies once they are developed. So the fourth speaker, Mr. Wale Adedokun, spoke on issues in the emerging technologies and how ready are stakeholders in Nigeria to handle this. So some of the recommendations made were to improve customer experience while online. He stated the fact that regulators need to be a bit more lenient, and with that he meant, allow the market grow, and then, more like encourage the innovation to thrive. So not lenient in a bad way, but more of allowing the market to thrive as regards emerging technologies. And the last point was that he stated that there needs to be use of technology. In Nigeria, we need to encourage more of technology trends so that it can move things forward generally, because it is less cost effective. Okay. And I think that is all for session 4. And so I will move to session 3 now. Okay, so for session 3, it was moderated by Mr. Oluwatoba Obani, and there were 4 panelists: Mr. Olusegun Onigbinde, Madam Ufa Mode, Esimaje Michael Onosome, and Dr. Omowumi Hassan. Okay, so Mr. Olusegun spoke on using gig economy to tackle unemployment in Nigeria. And some of the key issues raised was the fact that there are lack of jobs in the country, which has led youth to, succumb to all sorts of crime. He highlighted the fact that there's a gap as regards skills. So people need to, build up their skills because it's a competitive field. He also highlighted that quality of infrastructure in the country is really hampering development of the digital economy, digital infrastructure rather. And public education needs to be prepared for the gig economy. He stated the fact that there's needs to create new spaces where there will be cross-fertilization of ideas, and also the need for active policy to transform the structure of our economy. So some of the key recommendations, he stated that there's a need to improve public education and prioritize technical skills. There is also the need to create new spaces where cross-fertilization is encouraged. There will be a need to have a deliberate policy for digital economy as regards frameworks, since we have a policy. There should be mentorship programs in regards to digital empowerment, And then the talent is competitive all over the world. Therefore, Nigeria needs to improve its skills in order to compete in the global space. He also stated that there needs to be free flow of investment to achieve this. Then the second speaker, Ms. Ufa Mode, highlighted some key issues. Okay, so the first issue is that the fact that digital empowerment has impacted life of everyone around the world because of COVID-19, and not talk of how bad it has been in Nigeria. So because of COVID-19, every sector has been forced to adopt ICT. And leading to this is the fact that there's a big divide between the developed and developing regions as regards digital life. And so there's the need for private sector to create more ICT digital economy tools, which will encourage growth. ICT should be embedded in everyday life. Like, for example, as regards birth registration, and the fact that there needs to be a clear plan for digital roadmap. She also stated the fact that digital skills policy should have a clear approach to develop a culture for ICT. Sorry. Okay, and that regulations need to be drawn up in governing digital skills and digital life as regards citizens. So the key recommendations made is the fact that there should be a clear national plan to develop skills where skill gaps have been noted. There should be sufficient access to internet resources by all citizens, whether in urban or rural areas. The digital skills workforce should acquire vast technical skills in order to build confidence, and more services that rely on digital economy need to be used by everyone in their public life, which will create a more digitally literate society. So the third speaker, Esimaje Michael Onosome, highlighted the fact that it's important to note the economic value of the internet, that youth need to rely on skills and not on their certificates. So they need to know that their jobs require more of skills, not just what they have on their certificates. He also stated the fact that livelihoods can be sustained through the internet, and so it should be encouraged as a necessary tool for everyone. He stated the fact that technology is playing a big role as regards learning. And so these days, businesses, schools, ICT software, everybody is, leaning in that area. And so internet should be used productively by all users, not just for leisure. So the key recommendation made was that we should not only be consumers of the internet, but we should be service and skills providers. And the last speaker, Dr. Omawumi Hassan, who spoke on the all-inclusive digital economy, taking Nigeria's informal sector to the internet, highlighted some issues, such as the fact that the government needs a digital economic plan, which must be robust and inclusive. And I believe that means inclusive of all stakeholders. And all aspects of social inclusion should be embedded in digital inclusion. She also highlighted the fact that gender issues should be taken into consideration, including providing necessary tools. Education is a very important digital skill, and so all curriculums need to reflect this. She highlighted the fact that all strata of society, including technicians, should be part of digital inclusion. She highlighted the fact that ICT can and will be used by all professions, no matter the depth or level they are. And so digital literacy needs to be brought to the local level, including production of digital tools. Some of the key recommendations made: there needs to be technological partnership and support amongst all stakeholders. There needs to be collaboration with state governments and federal, more collaboration, and that all genders need to be involved in the process. She highlighted the fact that there needs to be new learning approach, which should be used as regards digital skills, and the need for a budget to be allocated for digital literacy. She also stated that production of hardware and other tools should be prioritized by all stakeholders, and when innovative tools are created, they should be disseminated as widely as possible through all available mediums, not necessarily always waiting for the government to do that. And so I think, so that was the last speaker, and that wraps up that's the end of the report from both sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. We really do appreciate the work that you guys did, and we apologize for the little time you had to compile the reports. Thank you very, very much. We're grateful. We do have Mrs. Miriam Haruna available now from the Center for Information Technology and Development, CITAD. She will give us a report from the Women IGF, which held yesterday. And of course, we all know that basically all that was discussed yesterday concerned women and how to reduce the digital gap that exists. Miriam, are you available now? Hello, Miriam. I saw her on a little while ago. Maybe she needs permission to unmute her mic, guys. Hello, guys. Okay, it seems Miriam has dropped out again. So, but we should not despair. All the communique will be circulated to everyone. So we'll have the opportunity then of reading or knowing what was discussed yesterday. I do apologize that the report, oh, she's around. Miriam. Hello, Miriam. Do please unmute your mic to give us a report. Thank you. We can hear you, Miriam. Please do go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I was here ago and then my network just fluctuated, so I had to log again. Okay.
Please do go ahead. We have 7 minutes for you, please, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Okay, so yesterday during the Women IGF, we held 3 different sessions. The first was the opening remarks, which Dr. Yunusa Yau of Center for Information Technology and Development, CITAD, gave a welcoming address note. Secondly, we also have the keynote address from Professor Nike sorry.
Oshofishan.
Okay, thank you, Oshofishan, retired professor of computer science of University of Ibadan and former president, Nigeria Computer Society, and former chair, Computer Professional Registration Council of Nigeria. So we had 2 panel sessions. The first one was moderated by Mrs. Mary Uduma, the chair of the West African Internet Governance Forum. In that session, there were 3 different topics that were discussed. The first was the women and the internet policy space in Nigeria, which Mrs. Edith Uchego spoke on, and she's the executive secretary to the board's Nigeria Internet Registration Access, NIRA. The second topic was on women domestic violence and the lockdown due to the COVID-19, which I spoke on. The third one was women digital marginality and the imperative of remote working, which Mrs. Ede, gender and conflict specialist, search for common ground, spoke on. So the second session was moderated by Mrs. Ene Obi, the country director, Action Aid International Nigeria. And the topics that were discussed was education, employment, and access to internet for women by Mrs. Martha Alade, the coordinator for Women in Technology, Nigeria. The second topic was promoting greater access to internet for women, and the speaker was Saadatu Aliyu, founder of Shamrock Innovation Hub. The last topic in that panel session was women and digital entrepreneurship, and the speaker was Ms. Chizoba Onwa from Shilit's organizations. And so part of the recommendations in general that were provided by the speakers during those 2 panel sessions were improve infrastructure, improve access and affordability, especially for women, continue with advocacy for digital inclusion, mentoring women in general for better access, and ensure to approach to, creating content relevant for women by women and in different local languages, mainstreaming of women voices in policy making around technology issues, and responsibility of all the stakeholders, all key stakeholders that need to take actions to achieve gender digital inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. We very much appreciate your report. So this is the end of this wrap-up session. So I want to thank those who contributed to this session. Barrister Emmanuel Edet, Ufar for the Youth IGF, Miriam for the Women IGF, Dr. Hamza Salami for sessions 1 and 2, the reports from those 2 sessions, and Mrs. Elizabeth Yisa for her report from sessions 3 and 4. And I want to thank my colleagues in the NIGF MAC for giving me the opportunity to moderate this session. I am most grateful. Thank you, everyone, and do have a pleasant day, everyone. Take care now. I'll hand over to the anchor of the whole session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, it's been a very wonderful day. I've learned a lot today and quite a number of recommendations. I guess the next step is for us to be intentional about it and run with it. Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure now to invite Dr. Haru Al-Hassan. He's the Director of New Media and Information Security and Chairperson of NIGF/MAG. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as he comes forward to give us the way forward and his closing remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to recognize this morning the presence of Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, in person of Dr. Isa Ali Ibrahim Fantami. Also this morning, there was the presence of Executive Vice Chairman of Nigerian Communication Commissions, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, and also the presence of Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy, and also Kashif Inwa, the Director General, Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, and all the other chief executives that participated within or remotely. Good evening, everyone. I am honored to have the opportunity to give this vote of thanks. I particularly link the opening remarks where the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communication Commissions, Professor Umar Garba Dambata, mentioned the internet as being one of the most important critical resource of the 21st century. We can all see how vital it has been during this pandemic and the mandatory lockdown that was imposed globally. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, who within 1 year of his tenure bring down an immense development in this industry. Some of his major achievements include the development of national broadband policy, national internet broadband policy, digital economy policy, and many more. I would also like to thank the chairman, Global IGF, for honoring our invitation and participating at this event. Our sincere gratitude goes to our strategic partners and sponsors. Those include Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, NIDA, Nigerian Internet Registration Authority, NIRA, Alton, and ATCON. The role played by Main One and Suburban in providing dedicated connectivity is also acknowledged. Special thanks also goes to the Nigerian Communication Commissions and the Internet Exchange Point of Nigeria, IXPN, for hosting the Abuja and Lagos virtual hubs of the virtual Nigerian Internet Governance Forum 2020. I wish to appreciate the effort of local multi-stakeholder advisory group, the Nigerian School of Internet Governance, and the Youth Internet Governance Forum, the volunteers and the working teams, which include finance, technical, communication, and administrative committees that work tirelessly in putting this event successful. Finally, I would like to thank all the distinguished guests, panelists, moderators, referees,
What a beautiful day. We have come to the end of this event, the Nigeria Internet Governance Forum. May I invite us to please rise for the national anthem.
All rise, all compatriots, Nigeria.